Hi, everyone, and welcome to everyone in our show. Vijay, do you want to take the lead?
Yes, thank you, Roshan, and welcome everybody. Some of you have been listening to Roshan and I over the last, I would say, almost 5 6 months. Running up to our IEO and post IEO, and now we actually launched. Also on the screen is somebody new that I'd like to introduce. Somebody that, if you've been following crypto, needs no introduction. We've got Ajit Khurana. Ajit, welcome to Team FOHO. Welcome also to our show, and it is quite a delight and honor for us to have you on our team. We definitely want to have you. So why don't I pass it on to you? You can do a little bit of introduction about yourself. Roshan and I have spoken to a lot of these people already, but we definitely want you as the new kid on the block. I mean, that white is all paint, right? The new kid on the block. So over to you, Ajit.
Thank you very much. Actually, the honor is all mine because the world of crypto, however extraordinarily promising it is, however much promise it holds to change the way human beings exist, transact, do professional activities, the fact is that this extraordinary opportunity has also led to a lot of people, let us say, bringing in things which are of relatively low value, but these things acquire value in the market solely because it's crypto and everything crypto is doing very well. To that extent, I find that what FOHO is doing is extraordinary. I think it, just like the true spirit of crypto, which makes available opportunities to the ordinary person, which were earlier either not available to anybody or were available to the select few. FOHO in that spirit also brings about some sort of a access which was otherwise limited or unavailable. At the same time, it is a very democratizing idea wherein you do not have to be like the king and prime minister and the sheikh or really rich billionaire to have access to the sort of things that you can do now at FOHO. Those people could always do it. So I think that if you look at all technologies, right from the coming of the mobile phone, coming of email, internet, WhatsApp messenger, social media, YouTube, all of those, the one thing that is common in all of them is that they are democratizing. Namely, it is not that the really rich man will have a mobile phone, the really rich man will be able to watch video on YouTube. It is everybody. I can afford it and watch it. And FOHO is a natural next step in this entire paradigm of crypto, because what it does is that it brings about RWA, which is real world assets, into the crypto sphere. And it is not just any RWA. It is not the table and the chair and the stuff. It is the oldest and biggest in asset market in the world, which is basically real estate. So real estate as a real world asset. So it is my pleasure to associate with FOHO and give myself a fancy designation, which I'm almost embarrassed to reveal to the public because it is so fancy. But I think that I'll try my best to pull it off. And so the good folk at FOHO, the ones you see, at least on my screen, they are both above my head. As on my screen, it's like Roshan and Vijay are sitting on top of my head. So the good folks at FOHO have decided to call me a chief evangelist, and it is with great humility
Like a juggle
and
around.
great honor that I accept it.
So just to today, if those of you got an invite to the show would have seen that our Ajit has been CEO of Kalari Capital, CEO of Zeppe. So our
Vijay.
yeah.
There is only one CEO at Kalari Capital.
No, I'm not. I was never CEO of Kalari. I was CEO of Zeppe, that's true.
As
I
CEO of
was CEO of
Zeppe.
IIT
So
Bombay's, yeah, as CEO of IIT Bombay's business incubator. I worked at Kalari for some time as an advisor. But yeah, so I've done a bunch of those things. They're very exciting. And with all of that experience, I can tell you that very few things I have done, and I've led a really exciting life. Very few things that I have done can match in excitement what FOHO is up to. And so far, FOHO has not been, like shouting from rooftops. They have been very subtle because they know what they have is valuable. But over time, FOHO is going to become that big, giant in this space. I'm quite confident. And that is why it's my honor to accept a role at FOHO.
So thank you, Ajit. And what I was going to say was, those who got an invite would have seen that one of our extra creative copywriters actually made him chief evangelist officer. So he wanted to hold on to CEO. So, but we're gonna make sure that it is only chief evangelist. But they wanted to keep you as CEO. But thank you,
Yes.
Ajit. And I think those of you who have not been to our website, I would encourage all of you, please go to letsfoho.com. That's letsfoho.com. You will see that everything that we've been talking about, that you can actually go and buy real estate globally with a click of your mouse, is true. It's out there. It is real. You can do it as easily as you're buying on Amazon, as easily as you're buying stuff on any e-commerce platform. So it is quite real. It is out there. And today we've gone live with only three geographies: Sri Lanka, India, and a limited release in Canada. But it is definitely going to go live globally. We see ourselves as an Airbnb. We see ourselves as an Uber. We've got to go after this a country at a time, and very soon we do want to ensure that, as you said, let's Uber this journey. You're going to say, let's FOHO this house. So we want to make sure that FOHO is a verb, right? So that's definitely the ambition and where we want to go. And I'd like now to just ask Roshan a couple of questions. Roshan, from after your IIT Mumbai days or Bombay, IIT Bombay, I think it's only recently that you've actually done a night out. You want to tell us a little bit about your last couple of
I,
night
I
outs you
was
did?
I had the privilege of torturing some of the programmers who had the misfortune of being allocated to me. So some of the Tangential team members, and I think Shaurya, who's on this call, experienced what we call in our lingo the night out, where it's essentially you work up to 3 4 a.m. and then you go to sleep. Now, unfortunately, you normally do this when you're 21 years old, and I'm doing this at 43. And you normally do it when you're like a hostelite at IIT, where you next day you can just bunk all your classes, and you don't do it when you have a packed day starting from 8 a.m. the next morning. So I was, it was fun to do it, but I don't know if I can do this very often anymore. Also, as a word of explanation, I think people see me fluctuating in and out of the screen, and that tells you that I'm the only one among myself, Vijay, and Ajit, who's in the true democracy, which is India. So I'm the only one physically in India where you really feel it's democratic. Everybody goes through power cuts. So so that's so. But yeah, but that the night out was fun, and I think the end result is for everyone to see. It's a very nice website. I'm very happy with the end product that the team at Tangentia has delivered, and it'll keep getting better.
Thank you, Roshan and Ajit. I mean, from whatever you've seen, I mean, obviously we're this is the first part. As in Hindi they would say, "Abhi picture baki hai," right? I mean, so any thoughts that you might have, in terms of Roshan and I are kind of been in this for longer. I've been in this even little longer. Went through a couple of iterations, but from you having got on board, I mean, in plain English, if you were to, we've got a lot of comments coming up everywhere. If you were to distill this, to a common person, how would you do that?
I'll give you two answers. First, I'll give you the last question, which is how do I distill it to the common person? I would say that earlier, I would say that basically all of human commerce and enterprise has been broken into two economic periods: before FOHO and after FOHO. Before FOHO, the rich got richer, they got opportunities which only the rich could get. After FOHO, those opportunities have become available to everybody in the real estate space. So this is the simplest way to explain it in a nutshell.
So 15th of November onwards, like we had AD and BC, it's going to be BF and AF. So everybody on the call, 15th November 2021, Okay, we count back as BF, and AF is after FOHO. Fantastic. So you know what, Ajit, that's that's why we love you. I mean, this is fantastic. So the first part, what do you say? I mean, like,
Yeah, the
this is
first
great. I
part that
mean,
you said, you gave the Hindi story, Hindi dialogue, ke picture abhi baki hai, which for those of the people on this call who may not know what it means, it says that, when you're watching a movie, you may think the movie has ended, but actually there's one last twist remaining. So I will also depend upon Bollywood to provide eternal wisdom as it does sometimes. And there was an old Hindi song, which actually I quickly have my laptop open here and I did not know the words. So I just started typing so that I don't say something wrong. But there was an old Hindi song which says, "Tu Ganga ki moj main Jamuna ka tara," which is, there are two worlds. There's a Ganga and Jamuna, and they have to do a milan, which is what is happening. There is a crypto world which attracts people who love crypto and have potentially gain from it. Then there is a real estate world, which there are people who say that's the only real asset and they love it. So how do these two meet? Because these are two strong paradigms, and I think that is what FOHO is. It is the bridge between the Ganga and the Yamuna. That is the real estate and the crypto, and that is why it presents the extraordinary opportunity that FOHO is.
Absolutely. It's well said,
and
Ajit.
yeah, fantastic, excellent. I think that's so as we're and Ajit is in Dubai right now. I'm in Toronto, Canada. Roshan's in Bangalore. And we're expanding our team. So also, if people are looking at this around the world and saying, how can I participate, right? There's a couple of ways you can participate. Number one, go to letsfoho.com and buy some property. Go hit some of those, add it to your cart. You can pay that very easily. You can pay it using crypto. You're paying fiat. You can pay with other, with FOHO as crypto or FOHO coin, or with any coin. You can pay with Bitcoin. You can pay with any of these other cryptocurrencies as well. How can you also participate? If you are a property owner, you can actually send us a note and say, I want to possibly FOHO my property. I'm on the other side of the fence. I want to bring my property. Some of you listening might be developers. Guess what? If you're building an apartment complex with 500 apartments, maybe you can put 100 of those apartments on FOHO. We sell it not to 100 people, but we sell it to possibly 10,000 people each, right? So we are making sure that an apartment in Mumbai now can be bought by the 1.3 billion people in India, and possibly even people from outside the world. So if you're a developer, we have now made sure that your inventory is now liquid. So the other people here is, the constituency that we're going after is people who have already bought. It's going to be a little later, but if you've already bought a FOHO property, a fraction of FOHO property, you can hold on to it, earn yield, earn rent, or you decide, the property is going up or down. I don't believe in this, or it's gone up high enough. You can sell it in the secondary market. That's something that we've not, it's not up as yet. It's going to come and that's part of the Abhi picture Baki hai, part of this. Roshan, do you want to say something about some of this? As Ajit mentioned, there's a lot there, but to your technical part of this, I mean, and talking to triple R's, and I didn't talk about the property management company aspect of this as well. But you want to mention some of that, the different stakeholders, the different participants that can participate, and how we're doing this, and how the end customer, right? I mean, this is a two-sided marketplace, and what better than you to explain that?
Yes, absolutely. So essentially, on FOHO is, in the spirit of crypto, a truly decentralized platform. Anybody can come online and list his property for sale, and anybody, can come online and purchase fractions of the property. The way that we have set up the whole thing is that, there is a concept of a sponsor. So essentially, the sponsors are the experienced users, on the website, who essentially, they are experienced real estate investors. They have to follow a few guidelines, so they are incentivized to find the right deals and to put them on the platform for the benefit of the other investors who can follow them into deals. The sponsors have a few rules, basically that they can't double dip. The basic ground rule is that they have to have the exact same deal terms as the other investors. The second is that they need to put in single-handedly 10% of the value of the property, so they have to have skin in the game, etc. And thirdly, they are remain locked in for 12 months post trading, which means that they can't exit in a hurry. So they really have to figure out an opportunity where they are comfortable remaining locked in for 12 months post the listing process, which effectively means a 14-15 month wait for their capital to multiply. Once they do this, they also of course have an incentive. Other investors co-invest along with them, and they get 3% of the entire value of the deal as an incentive for doing all the hard work of finding the opportunity, due diligencing it, articulating their thesis, and letting other people into the deal. Hopefully, because of this, they get to do more deals. They get to invest more into deals which would not be accessible to them because of the amount of capital they have themselves. And this is how, effectively over time they'll develop a reputation. You can follow different sponsors. You can see which ones are performing, which ones are ethical, and then you can continue to invest with them. And the ones that don't have a good reputation, they basically nobody invests with them, and they just stop wasting everyone's time by being on the platform, etc. So that's how we've built this marketplace. And we expect that now there will be more and more participants as we go and do other IEOs in different parts of the globe. So our intention eventually is to say that, when today you look at global real estate, you see a lot of pretty pictures, and you say, hey, maybe I can invest in this, etc. Our intention is to be that website where you see the pretty pictures but with a buy button, and you can see those opportunities. You can participate in them in the click of a button, and then build a diversified portfolio which is not linked to one particular country, or takes away geography risk in that sense.
Thank you, Roshan, and I think we've got a few questions coming in, so we can take some of these questions. And everybody that's listening, please send in your questions. It comes to us directly, so we can. So Noel has a question, and Roshan, I'll let you take this one. If I want to list my property in FOHO, and this is probably a very India-centric question, would you consider its price as per the market value or the government value? But again, it's not just an India question. It is even in the US or in Canada or wherever. There is a municipal value that's on which tax is calculated, right? So which one, the perceived market value is
It's
different in most cases from
It's the market
the.
value.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, this is a unique situation where certain properties in India, the market value may be lower than the government recognized value, and in certain cases, the market value will be higher than the government recognized value. Basically, I don't think any private investor is going to give any credibility to the value that a government assigns a property. So that's independent. You expect that others will be able to buy from you at the price that they feel is economically viable. And in many cases, if you feel that a glass is worth 10 rupees, you won't pay 10 rupees for that, right? Because you want to get a good deal, so you'll pay 9 rupees or 8 rupees. So unless there are 10 people who want that glass, and then you may be able to sell it for 11 rupees, etc. So I mean, it depends on the demand and supply in a particular micro market, but in general, I think most people tend to pay a little bit less than what they feel it's valued, or they're trying to pay the least that they can pay and still win the deal.
Yeah.
So it's market value. It's not government value.
Yeah, and who decides the value? And that's where we have the sponsor as well. A seller can come and say, but you have a sponsor that is actually defining who understands the market and says, you know what, the seller can come and say, I want 2 million for this property, and the sponsor says, I am the guy putting the skin in the game. I'm going to put in 10%, right? If
Yeah,
this does not close at 2 million, I will have to pay back all the money because the deal
yeah,
has to close, right? If the
yeah,
deal doesn't close, so basically, as Ajit said, this is true democratization. This is, you have to make sure that you price your properties right as well, or it won't sell.
Yeah,
So
and it
when
won't
you
receive sponsorship because the sponsors, remember, have got so many other opportunities, right? So I mean, if you're gonna try and price it above market value, it's gonna be the same thing as if you try to sell your house above market value. Just remain in the market for 150 days, 160 days, and you'll be living in fool's paradise, and you'll never see the money.
Yeah, so I think we've got some other questions here. We've got I will take this one. Somebody's asked, why don't you guys get a marketplace for purchasing virtual land? Okay, so as again, go back to what Ajit mentioned, Ganga Jamuna, right? We're looking at getting, we're already half in Ganga, we're half in Jamuna, so we don't want two Gangas to join. So we are truly getting the virtual side connected to real world assets. So that is our claim to fame. That is something that we want to do very well. That is what we want to be the dominant player in. There's a lot of people today. Name me one A grade Bollywood actor. Forget A grade or B grade Bollywood. Everybody has their own NFT and all the virtual things. So basically, what I'm saying is, what we do, there's not as many people that have tried to solve this problem. So we're
Right. And
basically going to solve this. And Ajit, I like you to hear your thing as well. Why not we go to virtual? And but maybe somewhere down the line we can look at this. But I think right now we're very focused on the real world assets and the virtual assets.
Okay, I think that that's a very interesting thought. In fact, you must notice that I'm doing something else also along with this. I'm taking notes. In fact, the
Okay.
first note that I took was there was one viewer who was called Amit, who talked about that, Facebook introduced Meta and
Yes.
FOHO will introduce Meta instead. So I took a note of that. And it's interesting that that is the same question that is being asked here. So look at
Yes.
it this way. I must confess that I'm oversimplifying what I'm saying, but oversimplification sometimes help understand. So to begin with, there was the digital world, whether it's social media, whether it's digital games or whatever it is, which is completely detached from the physical world. So you exist in the digital world with no physical connection. The next evolution of that is the metaverse, where several attributes of the real world, such as land or location or movement or geography or physics, actually enters that and starts creating a real world like character to the digital world. What will be the next step? If you start from zero real, 100% digital, to some characters of real and lots of digital, I think the next thing obviously is more characters of real, and that is where real estate comes in. So actually, I see what FOHO is doing even as one step beyond what the metaverse is, because metaverse is saying, let us create make believe land. Because before that, it was completely make believe, and what FOHO is doing is that it's creating real land. Of course, everything is not as is. I've oversimplified, I confess. So there's like pros and cons and different ways of looking at it. But yeah, let people go ahead and sell their virtual land. I have not invested in any, but I might someday. I might want to buy some virtual land. But for now, I'm sticking to real land.
yeah, and
Thank you.
ultimately the rules of economics will apply, where you have demand and supply. And in a digital world, unless it's like a billboard which has a lot of viewer attention. So let's say, for instance, if Facebook says that I'm going to create an NFT from the Facebook masthead, and every one of my users is going to see that when they log into Facebook, and you will get the share of that income, then maybe that may have some value. But it's just like a virtual world where people are roaming around in a sort of maze, and more of that maze can come, and then people think that they can create billboards in that unending maze, and just print money. Then I think that they may have to go back to economics lessons.
Yeah, but Roshan, I think as our friend Aditya, he took Ajit's Ganga Yamuna thing, and he added, says, why not Ganga Yamuna and Saraswati? So absolutely, we will take it under consideration. It is something that I think is I mean, end of the day, if there is enough demand, if there is something that people see, and we have the real world stuff, it can all be blended in. I mean, I'm not saying no to it, but our reason for existence, our raison d'être is the real world asset with the virtual. So that is our reason for existence. So if we want to add a couple of other things, I think definitely we can do those things as well. So so absolutely, everybody says it's Ajit. You're the new star of the show. We're if there's going to be a vote now, I think Roshan and I are going to be out.
No, no, that is because I'm the new flavor. Soon I will also, there are many Hindi songs that I can think of, but I think that we will stay away from Bollywood. Of that मैं पल दो पल
For
का
Bollywood,
शायर
we
हूँ.
need to
So
get
you are
Shaurya
all.
in.
Okay, so we got some other questions. I think Roshan, again, this one's for you. How many properties are we targeting to buy in the next 3 years? In the next 3 year span. So I can add in, but you
10
want
to
to just
15,000 easily.
yeah. So we're talking about 10 to 15,000 properties. So the numbers that we're talking about is not in the single digits, the double digits, the triple digits. Uh, think of it as the real estate market, as Ajit also mentioned in the beginning, is the biggest business in the world. It's $100 trillion business or more. Now, if we say very conservatively, 5% or 10% of this market will go fractional. Okay, that means it's $10 trillion in GMV. If 10% of that comes to FOHO, we're looking at a $1 trillion GMV to FOHO. Now that is the art of the possible, the total addressable market. Huge, huge, huge. We're not talking small numbers here. And that is why, one of those other questions is how many people are we going to hire? We'll require a lot of people. We'll need people in different geographies. We'll need the tech smarts. We'll need the legal smarts. We'll need the sales and marketing smarts. And we are going to be a dominant player here. So we're saying, as properties come on board, we see envision a world where developers today talk to real estate agents, say, hey, I'm putting up this new property, how much can you commit? Can you sell half of this? Loda is coming up with a new building in Mumbai. They go to some of the South Mumbai Real Estate Association, they pitch to them and say, you know what, how much can you sell? And then guess what, they come and do a road show to the FOHO community. We need to be a big community that people worldwide say, we want buy-in from the FOHO community. If we get buy-in from the FOHO community, we will launch this project. We want to say we're right now at Dusitani, Sri Lanka. By the way, it's for sale on letsfoho.com. Dusitani is one of the big Thai, 5-star, 7-star resort chains. They have a property at in Sri Lanka, on the southern part of Sri Lanka. Really, really beautiful. I went there myself. We got one of the best units there. It's available right now, and they pay 7% USD guaranteed yield. Find me another thing like this anywhere in the world. It's very difficult. We've really done our homework.
Vijay,
What are those
Vijay,
things?
we have a interesting suggestion here to do a big giveaway of properties in fractional, and this will attract a lot of users to be on board. So Aditya, I just wanted to tell you that we are in the business of collecting users who are in the target audience, and there's a fine line between collecting users and collecting too many users, because if you just take the whole phone book and just say that I want to add everybody in the phone book to my database, then essentially what you're doing is you're creating a warehouse with a lot of you're creating a lot of hay, and then you will start looking for the needle in the haystack. as opposed to, if you just had quality users from the beginning who genuinely are meant to, sort of, are looking to invest in real estate, etc., then you have a room which may not look very full, but it's only with needles. So we are not in this business of trying to, you know throw a lot of hay and collect a lot of hay, and then start wondering about, who is the needle in this hay. So I don't think you will see us doing any big giveaway of properties, and
Yeah,
collecting, a lot of users,
So,
etc., etc.
so I 100% agree with Roshan. However, I appreciate what you said, Aditya,
yeah,
that you are trying to find ways to attract people to us to create awareness. So we love that. Here is what I am thinking, Aditya, that while yeah, we are not here. See, we are not like a like a completely virtual thing that you can give any number of tokens away because tokens cost nothing. What we are talking about here is like real property, physical world, land, rental income, etc. So having said that, while we don't want to give stuff away, as in it's like, see, how many times did you get a Bitcoin giveaway? How many times did you get a Ethereum giveaway, Cardano, Solana, any of the good projects did you give away? The answer is no. Having said that, I think that you're right, Prasad, that we need rapid listing, we need all that. So here's Aditya, thanks for that. Here's what I recommend. We love community. In fact, the democratizing force is about community. So we are constantly looking at who is engaging with us, how many times, for how long. So loyalty, relationship, community will always be rewarded. Okay. Now that is not a random giveaway in a lottery, because I think that is frankly just a marketing gimmick. But yes, we will be very happy to reward our best customers. By best, it does not mean biggest. Biggest is one form of best. Earliest is another form of best. Most loyal is still another form of best. Frequent purchaser is still another form of best. So we are watching. So we have, without any commitment today on this stage, we will definitely be giving extraordinary rewards to our best customer. There is no doubt about it. Okay, so you can keep that in mind. A giveaway is frankly just a gimmick. You give it away, people go and immediately try to sell it, and they make some money, and there's just like some sort of social media spam that is created. That frankly doesn't help.
yeah. But from a I think a point very well taken, Aditya, and we will look at, I think, how how can we build excitement. I think that's I think where you are going with that. I think we will look at how we can build excitement. As Ajit mentioned, we're constrained by the fact that this is not, we're not just printing it, right? I mean, we're not minting it as well. This is actual real assets that we've paid money for. But definitely point taken, and we can do about it. Now, where I was going with that was, we definitely have some really good properties out there. I want people to go out there, check them out. I mean, today
Yeah,
already on the platform, you've got some fantastic opportunities. These are opportunities that are not available. You can't say, I'm going to go and buy this elsewhere, right? It's not available. Show us some place you can do that. You cannot.
yeah. So
with
you
the, with
have,
the
to give an example, you have properties from the Tata Group. You have properties from the Dusit Thani, which is, which is one of Thailand's largest hospitality chains. You have A-grade property in Toronto downtown, very, very prestigious. Moshe Safdie, who's one of the world's most famous architects, designed building. So this is all really high quality, kind of assets, and it's very difficult to recreate these assets, and it's very, very difficult to purchase these assets because their price always remains very high because they're in short supply. And so that's the benefit, and that's the power of FOHO, that people, even with the entry ticket size of, I think, as low as $60, can actually buy into like a Moshe Safdie design building.
Yeah, and I think we got a couple of other questions coming up. And this one's again, Roshan, you're the property
Yeah,
management guru here. If
yeah.
I purchase
What?
property, what
Yeah,
if the building collapses? Will there
yeah.
be insurance? What if natural
Then,
calamities?
yeah, so absolutely.
The
I mean,
answer
so
is
all of
yes,
these.
but you can give the details.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if you look at any property, we have something. There are three components that the property's price is made out of. So one is that it's essentially the price of the actual asset. The second is it's the price of the furniture, fit outs, and the improvements, what we call, which is basically making that property generate top tier income. And the third is something called maintenance reserve. So the maintenance reserve is essentially cash that is being used for paying insurance premiums, that's being used to maintain the property, to service the equipment and stuff like that. And so, in general, the property is going to be well, because a building can fall because of multiple reasons, but the primary reason is that it's not well maintained. And that could happen for a building, it could happen for, it could also happen just that equipment falls off, and then the property becomes unrentable. And if you did not have some cash in reserve to be able to go and put in a new air conditioning, etc., you'll not get a new tenant, because here there'll be 1,000 owners, and they'll all be looking at each other saying that, hey, why are we not getting the income? But very very few of them will be able to put in the cash and to synchronize and put that cash in together. So the way we've designed it is that the purchase price includes the maintenance reserve. That maintenance reserve is at the discretion of the property management company and subject to vote by the token holders. And then that is used to refresh the property, keep it current, make sure it's generating the top tier income, and make sure that that the people who want to exit the property always get a fair price. Because you know I mean, if the property is not well maintained, then what is happening is essentially me, when I want to get out, I'm not getting a fair price, because somebody else is basically saying that I'm not willing to pay you a fair price because you have not maintained the property.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think so. Thank you, Roshan. So one is ensuring that the property is, and this is brings us to the next part of this. Okay, what's the how are we true to the ideals of blockchain, to the ideals of cryptocurrency, to the ideals of democratization, right? So, and how is this different from a REIT? Okay, and I will start off by saying we're not a REIT. In a REIT, one REIT is centralized. One analyst, or what do you want to call them, portfolio manager, goes and buys multiple properties. He creates a basket of properties, and then people buy into that basket, right? And only the property manager can move the assets in the basket. We are a D-REIT, a decentralized REIT. So what does that mean? It's not just another whitewashing or blockchaining of this of a term. We are truly a decentralized REIT. So what happens is, when people join and buy into a property, there is democracy at play. If there's 51% of the people that own a certain property believe the property has appreciated quite a bit, they can decide that that property has to be sold. So the whole property gets sold, everybody in that property get the proceeds. It cannot happen in any other kind of investment where you're fractional. But
Yeah,
that is truly how we have democratized this. We have the governance models for this. Second,
absolutely.
you don't like the property manager. People can change the property manager. People can decide on a bunch of different aspects of the property in a democratic manner. If they decide that I have no idea how this thing works, but you know what, I'm going to assign all my rights, to the property manager. The manager can use my proxy, or the sponsor can use my proxy. You can do that as well. You don't want to be an active investor. You think somebody around here is a little smarter than I am. You give them your proxy. They can manage it on your behalf. So these are all aspects of FOHO that truly, once we get going, we've only started again. We picture Baki hai, is going to make
And yeah,
sure.
I want to illustrate the REIT fallacy with an
Mhm,
example of India.
mhm,
So India, we have only three listed REITs. All the three REITs are the bluest of blue chip. You have Blackstone anchoring one, Brookfield anchoring the other, and GIC, which is the government of Singapore, anchoring the third one. Now, in all their, obviously, they have no budget constraint. They have the pick of every possible asset in the real estate space in India. And all these three are run by the smartest, most experienced, or so called smartest and most experienced real estate investors in India. All three of them have put 100% of their portfolio into corporate parks, and within corporate parks lease to technology companies. And all of these investments were made at the peak valuation just before COVID. And no prizes for guessing which sector is most affected It's among, in all the real estate space, it's the commercial space. Among commercial, the only people who are not going to come back to office are the technology employees. So the smartest people, this is good thing. The smartest property managers backed by the biggest investors, and these are the only three funds available to retail investors in India, which are listed on the Indian Stock Exchange, are 100% exposed to the worst possible quality, highest possible quality and highest possible price, and least occupancy and worst outlook on the future real estate segment in India. Why is this? Because the REIT is a black box. You have no choice. You cannot tell, Blackstone or my Mindspace that, change your business model or change. They'll just tell you, no, no, no. But we told you at the beginning itself that we only invest in commercial real estate space leased to IT tenants. What do you want to do? You want to sell? Then you have to sell, and then you have to buy, Paytm stock or Zomato stock at 1,600, or Nika stock at 1,600 times, 1,600 years income is your PE.
Yeah. So Roshan, I
So,
think on that note, let's go to Ajit. Ajit,
Yeah.
if we can have a few,
Yeah. So very
some of your
simple.
views on this as well.
No, I'll not give you views. I'll give you view.
Okay,
So,
view.
the
Okay.
question started with REIT. How is it different? Vijay explained it in the decentralized fashion with variety of things. Then Roshan talked about the reality of REITs in the listed space in India. I'll just go back to the thing. All of what they said is obviously right. There's no doubt about it. But the fact is, you don't have to know all of that. You just have to FOHO. You come, choose, buy, and sit. You don't have to do anything else. You can do other things like participate, governance, assign, but you don't have to do anything else. Just find the property you like, click buy, and FOHO. That's it. Hey,
Absolutely.
client says that it would be nice to add Burj Khalifa. Oh, I completely agree. Every time I look out and I look at Burj Khalifa, I'm like, I want a little piece of that, man. So, guys, please get Burj Khalifa. I'll be your first customer.
Done. We will get that. So Roshan, it's on our list of things to do then.
$100.
We're actually talking to a couple of developers in the Middle East, and I think one is definitely new developments. We're definitely going to be coming on board, but the existing ones as well. By the way, Dubai and the Middle East is definitely a well-priced
Much
market. And when I say
monetized.
well-priced, it's not as inflationary as in other parts. Some of the other parts, Toronto, Canada, where I live, is white hot, not just red hot. It's like white hot. So obviously we're a little cautious about some of these markets, but we're quite bullish about Dubai, and I think we will definitely point very well taken. I think we are going to be in the Middle East soon, and I think that's something that we will do. We also have a couple of questions
Absolutely.
about how the democracy
And
works.
Vijay, the Middle East also, there are other interesting opportunities because people only have a view of Dubai. But
Mhm.
like, let's say for instance, we've got assets which are like, like real estate in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is not a place that normally people would invest in real estate. But here you're getting villas rented to the senior employees of Saudi Aramco. You have Saudi Aramco as the tenant. You have tax-free income guaranteed for 30 years. So, I mean, with a deal like that, you know, I think people will be. I mean, if it's not like they're buying the real estate for their personal use, but if you're getting a tenant like Saudi Aramco, he's guaranteeing you, 14% rent for 30 years on stop, and the income is tax free in US dollar terms. I think that those are good opportunities.
I have a question for you, Roshan.
Hmm.
Because I'm learning so much about real estate. I'm not a real estate guy. So, when I think of investing in real estate, other than the emotional factors of this is real, this is my place, this is my home, etc., but if purely taken from the investment point of view, there is fundamentally two things we are looking at: capital appreciation, which means the price of property will go up and I'll become richer, and second, there will be a yield. And I have
Right.
found that while both things exist simultaneously in all situations, but usually some properties are more oriented towards capital appreciation, some properties are more oriented towards yield. You talked about, I think, 14% or something right now for the Saudi property, and you talked about 7-8% for the Dusithani for Sri Lanka. I think Vijay mentioned that, etc. So, in terms of gaining from the capital appreciation, sure, the people can get together and say, let us sell and then capture the capital appreciation. Otherwise, um, what mechanism is there in the way FOHO is currently structured that even until the property is sold, the capital appreciation should reflect in the FOHO price, the token
Right.
price of your share.
Right. So essentially, so there are two exit routes. Essentially, there's price discovery through the secondary trading of the token, and then there is essentially price discovery by selling the asset and distributing the proceeds to the token holders. Now, I believe that you have true price discovery only when you have information. Generally, the price of assets is depressed when people don't have information about the asset, or when there's no information, there is no low confidence in the asset and its ability to perform, and then the price gets depressed. So so what we will endeavor as FOHO is, one is to build research and build coverage of the asset and to have enough information about the asset and the audit trail on the income and stuff like that. We also have the sponsor there whose job is basically to do deep research and uncover those opportunities, because the capital appreciation usually comes for an asset from the overall development of infrastructure, which is generally out of the control of any individual investor. You, whatever you do, and people always, once they've made an investment, they make some money, they always feel like they're the genius and they always brag about it. But ultimately, if you ask them, it's in real estate, it's very rarely about what they did, and but more about what the government did. So did the government put a new road or a bypass, or did the government put a new airport, or did that locality develop in a more, or was it master plan in a better way by the government, etc.? That decides where the asset price goes. So the sponsors, by being more experienced investors, they have that inside track. They have the knowledge of the local micro market. They can communicate that I'm buying in this location because the airport is coming here. I see this, or I see other major developers going into that region. I see so much more residential there, so there has to be retail and all of those. So our job is to remove that depression of price because of lack of information. So you will see that on FOHO, you will see a lot more information about the properties, a lot more audit on the income it produces, etc. And that should remove any depression in price because of information asymmetry. You know.
Understood. Understood. So we basically, the FOHO holders basically gain from the information asymmetry as opposed to the common person losing from information asymmetry.
Yeah, the common person really is in the worst position, right? Because what happens is he's busy. He doesn't know. He can't, like, if he's sitting in the UAE, he can't, even though he may be from Nagpur, he doesn't know anything what's happening in Nagpur. He is information. He might think that, like, let's say for instance, if he's from Bombay, or if he's from Bangalore, he might think, oh, Mantri is a big name, but he doesn't know that last month my Mantri Builders has filed for bankruptcy. Because
Understood.
his knowledge of Mantri, or his is anchored to what he knew 10 years ago, where it was a big builder, and this is applicable across the board. So
Understood.
he's, if in real estate, people in many cases don't have access to the opportunity because they're not local, and secondly, even if they have access to the opportunity, they don't do this as a full-time thing. So they just don't, they're not in the thick of things to be able to know what's a good investment, what's a bad investment, etc.
So, Roshan, on that note, I think we've got we're getting to end this. We got 10 minutes left. We got some more questions. If anybody has any more questions, please send us our way. Um, Part of the part that this is still the trailer. There's a lot more in the picture, to come. Abhi picture baki hai. This, what you see right now, are only residential properties, which is part of our four house offering. We have a FOHO work offering as well. That's not out there as yet. It is on coming. And again, I think somebody mentioned, would we be seeing things like cricket stadium, racing tracks? Hey, guess what? Absolutely, we can FOHO anything. But what can we FOHO? What do you think? I mean, realistically, people will FOHO warehouses, offices, and there's. I'll give you an example. One of the, there's a company called from a Canadian investment company, the CPP, and a lot of the other pension funds from Canada. Where did they invest first in India? They invested in cell phone infrastructure, right? Cell phone towers. Now, would you have ever considered investing in a cell phone tower? Maybe not. But if tomorrow a cell phone operator in Kenya says, you know what, I'll put a couple of my cell phone towers on FOHO, 15% assured yield. Guess what? We're taking the thing. We're taking an asset that was not available to you, bringing it to you. So the world is our oyster here. We can bring a lots of opportunities in geographies that you probably wouldn't have. That you don't have to travel to them. You don't need to have. You don't even need to know where it is, right? You don't even know where Kenya is. You don't even know. You're getting your yield
Vijay,
every
I
quarter.
was given an interesting idea yesterday by one of the hotel owners association members. So
Mhm.
this is obviously in every key city of India we have hotel associations, which is associations of owners of hotels in that city. So I was given this idea by one of the cities, and he was like, hey, look, we are such a big city, but we still don't have a nice venue for, let's say, comedy shows, performing arts, etc., etc. So he was like, why don't we do this? Why don't all the hotel owners get together and on FOHO finance a nice venue? And then what happens is we will market it to all the guests, because there's nothing like this. There's nothing for our guests to do in terms of a nice place to go when you visit Bangalore, or when you visit Bombay, or when you visit Delhi, etc. And because we collectively, as all hotel owners, own this venue, we will we will benefit financially from the real estate as well as from the ticket sales, etc. And it can be quite large. So I thought, so these are some interesting ideas. I think when many people come together, you can kind of precipitate some of these interesting new ideas in real estate.
And with less friction. The same
Yeah.
thing is possible. In the old days, you could potentially create a public limited company and list an asset, right? I mean, that has
Correct.
always
Correct.
been available, but in a simplified manner, quickly, with very less friction, is, I think, where the whole difference is. So FOHO house, we talked about FOHO work. There's the third pillar of FOHO, which is FOHO club. Now, what FOHO Club does is allows usage of property. Now, both FOHO House and FOHO Work is only investing in property. You can't use it. But let's assume you're in Mumbai, or you're in Bhopal, or you're in Calcutta in India, and you visit Goa once or twice a year. You got family that visits, you got other people who visits. You've got your eye on a property in Goa, but you don't want to buy the entire property. So you say, I'm going to FOHO this as a FOHO club. So you become the organizer of the club. You go and say, how much is it to rent this place for the year? And the people tell you X dollars, X rupees. You go and say, I am going to create a club where everybody that joins this club gets 10 days for free. You got to pick your days, or two 5 day slots for any time in the year. So you make the rules. It's your club, right? And you put it out there, and then people come and join the club. And once you reach a certain threshold, the club is sold. And if the club is sold, you got all the people in the club. The club runs for 1 year. People can decide, we want to continue the club for one more year, or we don't. Or some guys want to drop out, new people join the club. So you can create these clubs on FOHO as well. So that's a usage element. So this is truly, and I'll give you an example. My daughter goes to university in Montreal, and I've always wondered, I don't want to stay in a hotel, I don't want to stay in an Airbnb. I want to make sure that I want a property right in the middle of town. And there's other people that have kids that go to McGill University. There's probably like 100,000 students in Montreal that are all from out of town. So there's a huge community that will kind of join up. So think of those are things as well that people can do. You can also have a FOHO club with a winery. You can go and buy the entire stock of the winery for the year. and people join together and buy it. So that is also, the realm of the possible there is infinite. Lot of different things possible. So Ajit and Roshan, start with Ajit. Any things about the club? I'm very excited just by the fact that we could potentially, and if anybody at Airbnb watching, they might think we might be competition. I will say yes, we will be competition. So Ajit.
So here's the thing: there are many timeshares. There's like, I don't want to name anybody, where you can do is you can pay a certain amount, and maybe for a 25-year period, go ahead and use that property for like 1 week a year or some other such thing. There are such opportunities available. Some of them I think actually are pretty interesting from the timeshare point of view. But what
Yes.
happens at the end of the period? Whatever money you have given them, it will be 1 lakh, it will be 50,000, it will be 5 lakh. Then money is exhausted. In what you are describing, you are getting a similar return or a similar reward, but at the end of it, you have value.
Yes.
At the end of it, there is value. At the end of it, the terminal value is not zero. The terminal value is a positive value. So I think that if there are so many people buying into that sort of a concept, then this is like a no-brainer. As in, why would one not think of this? That's the way I would think.
Thank you, Ajit. Roshan, we're getting to top of time here, but I'll let you say something, and maybe this is we'll kind of try to keep it on time. So, last words of wisdom from you, Roshan.
No, I think everyone have fun. I mean, real estate is interesting because it's so diverse, and the world's a beautiful place, and there's so many interesting people doing interesting things. So you just, I mean, have fun. Look at the quality of asset. Try and broaden your mind, and kind of look at all the interesting opportunities that'll be on FOHO. Participate in a few. I mean, if you'll win some, you'll lose some. That's part of life, but you'll at least experience more of planet earth because of us.
Thank you, Roshan. Ajit, last comments, last words. People watching. I mean, this is also going to be on YouTube, so could be into posterity. I mean, so what would your wise words be?
Let's go.
Let's FOHO. Fantastic, guys. So on that note, we're going to, be talking to all of you more often. But thank you, Roshan, Ajit. Thank you, everybody that's watching. And as Roshan said, and sorry, as Ajit said, let's FOHO. Thank you very much,
Let's
everybody.
FOHO.
Have a nice one.
Bye.
Thank you.